Johnny Carson was in charge of late-night TV for 30 years. America saw the man with the easy smile, the smart jokes, and the sense of being in charge every night. The story changed, though, when the cameras stopped rolling. There were 4 marriages, expensive divorces, affairs that were talked about, bitter fights, family hurts, and a private side that not many people could ever reach behind that famous desk. There were people who thought he was charming, and people who remembered a colder man who could keep people out for good. The people who knew him best knew that the biggest laughs often hid the deepest cracks. That being said, what did Johnny really protect all those years? Discover with us the rise, betrayals, heartbreaks, scandals, and hidden facts about Johnny Carson that made him much more complicated than the American public ever knew. The young magician who learned how to keep a crowd in line. John William Carson was born in Corning, Iowa, on October 23, 1925. Mrs. Ruth Elizabeth Carson was his mother, and Mr. Homer Lloyd Kit Carson ran a power company. Johnny was the 3rd child in the family. Richard, who was better known as Dick, was his younger brother and sister. The family lived in several Iowa towns, such as Avoca, Clarinda, and Red Oak, before settling down in Norfolk, Nebraska, when Johnny was 8 years old. There, he started to get better at entertaining people. When he was 12, he went to a friend's house and found a book about magic. He then ordered a magician's kit through the mail. Soon, he could trick everyone in the family with cards. He walked around after them and said, "Pick a card, any card." His mom made him a cape, and by the time he was 14, he was acting as the Great Carsoni. His first show in public was for the Kiwanis Club in his town, and he got $3 for each one. He hitched a ride to Hollywood after high school. Music 1C. Story that wasn't true said he got a $50 fine for pretending to be a midshipman. He started his real military life on June 8, 1943, when he joined the U.S. Navy. The V-12 program at Columbia University and Millsaps College helped him get ready for the military. He then became an ensign near the end of the war. He was sent to the USS Pennsylvania in the Pacific. Music. He got there on August 14, 1945, which was the day Japan gave up music. A rocket attack not long ago did damage to the ship. While it was in dry dock, Johnny worked to fix the damage and made sure that the bodies and belongings of 20 soldiers were taken away. After many years, he said it was a terrible experience. Later, he was in charge of a troop train, read messages in Guam, fought amateur boxers on board a ship, and did a card trick for James Forrestal, the Secretary of the Navy. Johnny told Forrestal that he wanted to become a magician when he was asked about his plans for the future. He got an early sign that having fun might become more than just a childhood game when he showed that he could make such a serious man laugh. How long it took Johnny Carson to get to the big time. Johnny went to the University of Nebraska after getting out of the Navy. He became a member of Phi Gamma Delta and kept doing magic, now making $25 for each show. He first went to school for journalism to become a comedy writer, but he quickly changed his focus to radio speech and theater. Johnny used taped jokes and sketches to show how to write comedy for radio as part of his thesis. He also explained why each bit worked. He was able to finish college in 3 years. He got his degree in radio and speech and a minor in physics in 1949. His first job in radio and TV was at WOW Radio and Television in Omaha the next year. He quickly became the host of The Squirrel's Nest, a morning show. In one routine, he talked to pigeons on the roof of the building about corruption in politics that they said they had seen. Music. To make extra money, he held church dinners where local leaders he had made fun of would show up. It's funny, but one joke helped him open the door next door. Music. The wife of a politician he impersonated bought stock in a Los Angeles radio station. In 1951, she told Johnny about her brother, who had a lot of power in Southern California television. Johnny joined KNXT and made Carson's Music Cellar, a low-budget sketch show. In 1953, Red Skelton hired him as a writer because he liked it. That following year, Skelton passed out during a music rehearsal an hour before a live show. Johnny took over and made things happen. After that, Jack Benny asked him to be on his show. Johnny, Music, copied Benny's moves and joked that Benny had stolen him. Benny told Johnny that he would become a famous comedian. Not all of the attempts worked. Johnny Carson hosted Earn Your Vacation and the Johnny Carson Show in prime time, but the second show didn't work out. From 1957 to 1962, he hosted ABC's Who Do You Trust from New York. He met Ed McMahon there, who would become his partner. Music. Johnny thought that being on a daytime TV show might hurt his career, but it did well. He could talk to friends and joke around without having to follow a strict script. Because he thought quickly, he became one of the biggest names in daytime TV, and soon NBC came along with a much bigger deal that would change everything. John didn't say yes before America did. Tonight on NBC started in 1954 with Steve Allen and became a huge hit with Jack Paar. NBC wanted Johnny Carson to take Parr's place when he quit music in 1962. At first, Johnny said no. He was scared that he wouldn't be able to handle having to talk to famous people for 105 minutes every weekday. A number of other stars turned down the job as well, but NBC kept trying until Johnny finally agreed in February 1962. "You mustn't." I'd still had 6 months left on his contract with ABC, so guest hosts filled in until October 1st, when he took over for real. Johnny had a rough first year of music school, but he slowly found the style that made him unique. People from Who Do You Trust joined him, and began every show with, "Here's Johnny." The show had interviews, monologues, skits, and music. Johnny's fake golf swing became one of his trademarks. Up until Johnny's last show in 1992, Paul Anka's theme song was always played on the show. His real talent as a musician was making weak spots funny. He never looked upset. If a joke didn't work, he would dance to Tea for Two or pull the mic close and say, "Attention Kmart shoppers, clean up music in aisle 4. Billy Wilder, the director, praised Johnny for coming ready with music, making every guest interesting, and making practiced material feel natural. People thought the host was laid back, but that style was the result of good timing, focus, and control. Night after night, he made a lot of people feel like they were in the room with him. Soon, everyone in the U.S. watched The Tonight Show every night. It became their go-to late-night show. Johnny's rising power, fame, and wealth. Music. The Tonight Show began at NBC's main office in New York. On May 1, 1972, the show moved to Burbank, California. Johnny was close to the center of power in Hollywood after the move, music. It brought famous guests closer together. By that time, he could make or break lives with just one good interview or laugh. In the late afternoon, the show was recorded and sent all over the land. A new deal in 1980 cut the show from 90 minutes to 60 minutes, which made his job easier. Mondays were taken over by guest shows, and Johnny worked fewer nights. From 1983 to 1986, Joan Rivers was the show's head guest host all the time. Music. After she left, comedians like George Carlin and Gary Shandling took turns sitting in the chair. In 1987, Jay Leno took over as the main guest show. A new deal in 1980 cut the show from 90 minutes to 60 minutes, which made his job easier. Mondays were taken over by guest shows, and Johnny worked fewer nights. From 1983 to 1986, Joan Rivers was the show's head guest host all the time. Music. After she left, comedians like George Carlin and Gary Shandling took turns sitting in the chair. In 1987, Jay Leno took over as the main guest show. Mondays finally belonged to Leno, and older Carson shows were often shown on Tuesdays. Even though she didn't show up as much, music the show stayed strong, and Johnny still beat all of his late-night competitors. Still, he turned down many movie offers. He turned down major parts in Blazing Saddles and The Thomas Crown Affair. Martin Scorsese also wanted him to be in The King of Comedy with Robert De Niro. But Johnny said no, so Jerry Lewis played the part. He knew that his strength came from the desk. He got a personal Peabody Award on the 25th anniversary of The Tonight Show. The board said he was an American institution, a well-known person, and one of the most quoted people in the country. Still, success came with a strange price. A lot of people thought they knew him. Music. But when they got close, they usually met a much quieter man. Johnny watched life outside the studio lights more carefully as the lights got brighter. We need to go back to 1949 before Johnny Music became the king of late-night music to understand that harm, the marriage that made Johnny's worst music side clear. They met at the University of Nebraska and got married on October 3, 1949. Joan Jody Morrill Wolcott was the bride. She was a member of the music group Pi Beta Phi. They had 3 sons. Chris was born in 1950, Richard, also known as Ricky, in 1951, and Barry William, also known as Corey Music, in 1953. Johnny went from being famous for radio to being famous for his music across the country, and the family grew. But the marriage became unstable. Both partners had been chul, eating on their partners, and their fights could get very heated. Carson the Magnificent's biography from 2024 talked about fights he had while drunk in front of his friends, followed by long times of anger, shame, or silence. The book says that Jody sometimes flirted with other men in public, which made Johnny angry. Getting drunk made things worse. Mike Thomas, who helped write the book, said that Johnny could become a demon when he drank, and that music could quickly change his mood. According to the account, Jody was physically hurt during some of those times. The book said that Johnny felt very bad about what had happened when he woke up. These claims showed a side of him that wasn't shown in the smooth monologues that people loved. The writers also said that his mother, Ruth, was linked to his troubled relationships with women. Music. Thomas said she wasn't close to him personally and didn't show much pride in him. Even if that doesn't explain his later choices, his home life in music was falling apart at the same time that his career was changing. Johnny took over The Tonight Show in October 1962. 7 months later, in May 1963, after 14 years of marriage, he got a divorce. As people in America welcomed him into their living rooms, his home was coming apart. After many years, Johnny admitted that the show had gotten more attention than his marriages and songs. He said, "I'd probably have a hell of a marriage if I had given as much to marriage as I did to The Tonight Show." It sounded like a joke, but it also had regret in it. Jody knew him before he became famous, before he worked at the desk, and before America made him its own late-night king. As they got married, a pattern music in his personal life became clear. Johnny felt in charge when he was at work, but intimacy often made him angry, scared, or want to run away. His next marriage started almost right away, and it would show bigger problems. A gun,